If everything you pull out of your air fryer comes out pale, soft, and disappointingly soggy, the machine isn't broken. You're breaking the rules that actually make food crisp. Today, 31 air fryer rules an Italian nonna never breaks for crispy food, including the one that's quietly turning your fries and chicken soggy, and a number one that makes last night's leftovers crunchier than the day you bought them. Let's get into it. Number 31. Start by preheating the air fryer every single time. A nonna never owned one of these little machines, but a lifetime of making food shatteringly crisp in hot fat and hot ovens taught her every rule it needs, and the first of them is heat. Food dropped into a cold basket just sits there and steams, coming out pale and limp. Give the air fryer 3 or 4 minutes to get properly hot first, and the food sizzles the instant it lands, searing and crisping from the very first second. A hot start is a crisp finish. And the next one is the step almost everyone skips. Number 30. Pat the food completely dry before it goes in. This is the step almost everyone skips, and it's exactly why so much comes out soft. Any water clinging to the surface of your food turns to steam in the hot air, and steam is the sworn enemy of crisp. It leaves everything pale and soggy instead of golden. A nonna blotted her food dry with a cloth or paper towel first, so there was no surface moisture left to fight against. Dry food crisps, wet food steams. It really is that simple. And the next one is the little bit of fat that changes everything. Number 29. Toss the food in a light coat of oil. People hear the words air fryer and think no oil at all, but a little fat is exactly what makes food crisp and golden. A nonna would toss her potatoes or vegetables in just a teaspoon or two of oil, or give them a light spray, so every surface carried the thinnest sheen. That tiny amount of oil conducts the fierce heat and browns the surface into a real, crunchy crust. Bone-dry, oil-free food just comes out pale and leathery. The type of oil barely matters. Vegetable, sunflower, or a light olive oil all crisp beautifully. What matters is that thin, even coat and nothing more. A little fat is the secret. And the next one is about not going too far the other way. Number 28. But don't drown it in oil. Just as too little oil leaves food pale, too much ruins it in the opposite direction. Pour the oil on heavily, and it pools in the bottom of the basket, starts to smoke, and coats the food in grease instead of crisping it, so it comes out oily and heavy rather than light and crunchy. A nonna used the lightest hand, a spray or a small drizzle tossed through, never a puddle, just enough to coat, never enough to pool. And the next one is about how you cut the food. Number 27. Cut everything into even, not too big pieces. When your pieces are all different sizes, the small ones burn while the big ones are still soft in the middle, and nothing crisps evenly. A nonna cut her food into uniform pieces and kept them on the smaller side, so every single piece cooked and crisped at exactly the same rate, with more surface area to go golden. Even sizes give you an even crisp, and the next one is a trick just for potatoes and fries. Number 26. For the crispiest fries and potatoes, rinse the starch off first. Freshly cut potatoes are coated in surface starch that makes them stick together and go gummy instead of crisp. A nonna soaked her cut potatoes in cold water for a while to wash that starch away. Then, and this is the crucial part, dried them completely before tossing them in a little oil. Clean, dry, lightly oiled potatoes crisp up in the air fryer almost like they've been deep fried. 20 minutes in cold water is plenty to draw the starch out, but never skip the drying afterwards, because a wet potato will never, ever crisp. And the next one takes that crunch even further. Number 25. For an extra crunchy shell, dust the food in a little cornstarch. This is a restaurant trick a nonna would have taken to instantly. After drying and lightly oiling your potatoes, vegetables, or even tofu, toss them with a fine dusting of cornstarch or flour before they go in. That thin coating crisps up in the hot moving air into a delicate, shatteringly crunchy shell around the soft inside. A little cornstarch is the difference between crisp and seriously crunchy. And the next one is the move you must not forget halfway through. Number 24. Shake the basket or flip the food halfway through. Left completely untouched, food crisps only on the side facing the airflow, while the underside sits pressed against the basket, steaming and staying pale and soft. A nonna gave the basket a good shake, or turned the pieces over, partway through cooking, so every side got its turn in the hot moving air. Shake it, and the whole thing goes evenly golden. Forget to, and half of it comes out soggy. And the next one is for anything breaded. Number 23. Spray breaded food with a little oil so it turns golden. Breadcrumbs and coatings that go into the air fryer bone dry come out chalky, pale, and powdery, the classic disappointing air fryer cutlet. A nonna gave the breaded surface a light misting of oil before, or partway through, cooking, which lets the crumbs brown and crisp into a proper golden crust, just like frying. Dry breading stays white, oiled breading goes golden and crunchy, and the next one is about frozen food. Number 22. Cook frozen food straight from the freezer. Never thaw it first. This is where the air fryer truly shines. Thawing frozen fries, nuggets, or spring rolls first just releases a load of water and leaves them soggy. A nonna would put them in straight from frozen, where the fierce dry heat crisps the outside beautifully while cooking the inside through. Frozen food often comes out crispier from the air fryer than it ever would from the oven. Straight from frozen, no thawing. And the next one is the single biggest reason your food comes out soggy. Number 21. Cook in a single layer. Overcrowding the basket is the number one reason your food comes out pale and soggy. This is the one on the thumbnail, and it's the mistake nearly everyone makes without realizing. It's so tempting to pile the basket high to get everything done at once, but the air fryer crisps by blasting hot air around every surface of the food, and when you cram it full, that air simply can't circulate. The pieces trap each other's moisture and steam instead of crisping, and the whole lot comes out limp, pale, and disappointing. A nonna would lay her food out in a single, uncrowded layer with a little space around each piece and cook it in 2 or 3 batches if she had to. A single layer is the entire difference between soggy and shatteringly crisp, and the next one is the mistake that steams it the very same way. Number 20. Leave a little space around each piece and cook in batches. This is the twin of the last rule. Even in a single layer, if the pieces are jammed edge to edge and touching each other, the hot air still can't get all the way around them, and the spots where they touch stay pale and soft. A nonna left a little breathing room around everything and simply cooked a big amount in 2 or 3 batches rather than choking the basket. It takes a few minutes longer, but everything comes out properly crisp instead of half-steamed. Room to breathe is room to crisp. And the next one is about the heat itself. Number 19. Crisp needs high, dry heat. Don't cook it low and slow. Turning the temperature down and cooking gently might feel safer, but low heat just dries food out slowly without ever crisping the surface, leaving it tough and pale. A nonna knew that a real crisp crust is born from high heat hitting a dry, lightly oiled surface fast. And here's the thing, a nonna spent her whole life making food crisp, long before any machine like this ever existed, and every one of those hard-won rules, with the recipes to go with them, is written down in Nonna's Handbook. The link is in the description below. Now, number 18. the patience that turns pale food golden. Number 18. Give it enough time. Don't pull it out too early. So much air fryer food is disappointing simply because it came out a couple of minutes too soon, pale and only half crisped. Nonna knew that the crust deepens right at the very end, so she let food keep going those extra minutes until it was genuinely golden brown, not just cooked through. Cooked and crisp are two completely different finishes, and crisp always takes a little longer. If in doubt, give it 2 more minutes and check. You can always add a little time, but you can't uncook pale, limp food back into crisp. Wait for the color. And the next one is the habit that keeps stealing your crunch. Number 17. Stop opening the basket every minute to check on it. It's tempting to keep pulling the drawer out to peek, but every time you do, you let all the hot air rush out and the temperature drops, so the crisping stalls each and every time. Nonna checked sparingly, a look when it was time to shake, and one near the end, and otherwise left it alone to stay hot and keep crisping. A quick glance is fine. Constant peeking steals your crunch, and the next one will change how you eat leftovers forever. Number 16. Reheat pizza and fried food in the air fryer, never in the microwave. A microwave turns yesterday's crispy food into a soft, rubbery, steamed disappointment. The air fryer does the exact opposite. Nonna would put leftover pizza, fried chicken, spring rolls, or roast potatoes into the air fryer for a few minutes, and the dry heat drove off the moisture and brought the crust roaring back to life, crisp and hot, as if it were freshly made. The air fryer is quietly the best reheating tool in your whole kitchen. Set it a little lower than the original cooking temperature, and just a few minutes will do it. Any longer, and you'll dry the food out chasing crisp. And the next one is about coatings. Number 15. Use dry coatings, never a wet batter. A thin, wet batter, the kind you deep fry in oil, simply does not work in an air fryer. With no hot oil to set it instantly, it just drips down through the basket and bakes into a mess. Nonna used a dry crumb coating instead, a dusting of flour, a dip in egg, then breadcrumbs, which crisps up beautifully in the moving hot air. Breadcrumbs, not batter. And the next one is about getting the seasoning right. Number 14. Season at the right time. Sturdy spices before, delicate ones after. Hearty things like salt, pepper, and paprika can go on before cooking and take the fierce heat just fine. But delicate dried herbs, grated cheese, and fresh garlic will scorch and turn bitter in that dry heat if you put them on too early. Nonna added those toward the very end, or the moment the food came out, so they flavored everything without burning. The right seasoning at the right moment. And the next one is for fatty foods. Number 13. With fatty foods, pour off the pooled grease partway through. Bacon, sausages, and fatty cuts render out a lot of fat, and if it pools in the bottom of the basket, it starts to smoke. And worse, the food ends up sitting and steaming in it instead of crisping. Nonna poured that rendered fat off partway through cooking, saving it, of course, in her dripping jar, so the food stayed up in the dry, moving air where it could actually crisp. It's far safer, too. A basket swimming in hot fat is behind most air fryer smoke and the odd little flare, and draining it keeps everything calm and clean. Drain the fat, keep the crunch. And the next one is about marinated food. Number 12. Pat marinated food dry before it goes in. A dripping wet marinated piece of chicken or vegetable will just steam in its own liquid and come out pale and soft, however long you cook it. Nonna shook off and blotted away the excess marinade, leaving only the flavor clinging to the surface, so the outside could dry out and crisp in the heat. The flavor stays, the sogginess goes. And the next one is a safety trick for light foods. Number 11. Anchor anything light, so it doesn't blow up into the element. The air fryer moves air with real force, and light things, a slice of bread, a leaf of kale, a sheet of parchment, can lift up and hit the heating element at the top, where they scorch or even smoke. A nonna weighed light foods down, laid a rack over them, or tucked a small piece of parchment under the food rather than leaving it loose. Keep it anchored, keep it safe. And the next one is about what sits under the food. Number 10. Never block the airflow with a solid liner. Lining the whole basket with foil or solid paper to save on the washing up feels clever, but it seals off the very holes the air needs to circulate through. And with no airflow underneath, the food just steams and never crisps. A nonna used nothing at all, or a proper perforated liner with the holes left clear so the hot air could move all the way around the food. Clear airflow, crisp food. And the next one is about stacking food up. Number 9. Only use a second layer if it keeps the air moving. When you've a lot to cook, the temptation is to just heap the food up, but stacked food steams. If your model has a proper rack that lifts a second layer with space and airflow around it, use that. Otherwise, cook in batches. A nonna never just piled the basket high and hoped for the best. Layers only work with air moving between them. And the next one keeps every single batch crisping. Number 8. Clean the basket between batches. Little bits of stuck-on food and crumbs left behind from the last batch will burn, smoke, and give everything a bitter, scorched taste, and the built-up grease stops the next batch crisping properly. A nonna gave the basket a quick wipe or rinse between rounds, so every batch started clean and hot. A clean basket makes a crisp batch. And the next one is about matching the heat to the food. Number 7. Match the temperature to what you're actually cooking. Blasting everything on maximum heat isn't the answer. Delicate things scorch on the outside long before they cook through, while dense, starchy things need that high heat to crisp at all. A nonna cooked delicate foods a little gentler and gave sturdy foods the fierce heat they need to go golden. Crisp is high and dry, but high doesn't mean the same thing for everything, and the next one is about keeping the inside juicy. Number 6. For a crispy outside and a juicy inside, don't overcook it chasing crisp. It's so easy to leave chicken or fish in a little too long trying to get the outside crisper and end up with a dry, tough inside. A nonna got the surface dry and lightly oiled so it crisped fast, up front, and then pulled the food the moment the inside was just cooked through, using the fast crisping, not extra time, to build the crust. Crisp comes from technique, not from overcooking. And the next one is about toppings. Number 5. Add any crumb or cheese topping in the last few minutes. A topping of breadcrumbs, grated Parmesan, or a sticky glaze added at the start will burn to nothing long before the food underneath is done. A nonna added those finishing touches near the very end, giving them just a few minutes in the heat to turn golden and crisp without scorching. A little grated Parmesan added right at the end melts and crisps into a golden, savory lid, one of the very best things the air fryer does. A gratin-style crunch on top, done right at the finish line. And the next one is about knowing exactly when to stop. Number 4. Take it out the very moment it turns golden. The line between perfectly crisp and dry and burnt is only a minute or two in an air fryer because the heat is so fierce and direct. A nonna watched closely toward the end and pulled the food the instant it hit that deep golden color, not a minute later. Crisp turns bitter and dry fast in there. Watch the color and stop right on it. And the next one is what to do the second it comes out. Number 3. Rest crispy food on a wire rack, not on a plate. This is the mistake that ruins perfectly crisp food right at the finish line. Pile hot, crisp food straight onto a plate, and the steam rising off it gets trapped underneath, softening the bottom back to soggy within a minute. Nonna set hers on a wire rack instead, so the air could move all around it, and the steam could escape, keeping it crisp right up until it hit the table. It's the same reason Nonna never stacked fresh fried food on top of itself. The pieces underneath go soft under the weight and the trapped heat. A rack, never a plate. And the next one makes your seasoning actually stick. Number 2. Season it the instant it comes out, while it's hot and glistening. Salt and seasoning slide straight off cool, dry food and end up in the bottom of the bowl. Nonna showered her crisp food with salt and seasoning the very second it came out of the basket, while the surface was still hot and lightly oily, so every bit of it clung to the crunchy crust where it belongs. Season it hot, and it sticks. And now, number 1, the rule that turns yesterday's leftovers into the best thing in the fridge. Number 1. Bring stale, day-old leftovers back crispier than the day you got them. This is the one that changes how you eat, and it's the purest proof of everything Nonna understood about crisp. That leftover pizza, those cold fries, last night's fried chicken, the roast potatoes gone soft in the fridge. Most people sadly microwave them into hot, rubbery disappointment. Nonna's way was the air fryer. A few minutes in that fierce, dry heat drives out all the moisture that turned them soggy overnight and brings the crust roaring back to life. The pizza base shatters, the fries snap, the chicken skin crackles again, very often crisper than they were when they were fresh. Set it to a moderate heat and check after just 3 or 4 minutes. That's usually all a slice of pizza or a handful of fries needs to come roaring back to life. Nothing wasted, and leftovers that are honestly better the second time around. That, more than any single rule, is why that little machine earns its place on the counter. Not to replace Nonna's frying pan, but to bring her kind of crisp roaring back to life on any night of the week. So there they are, 31 air fryer rules an Italian Nonna never breaks for crispy food. She never owned the machine, but she never needed to. Crisp was never about the gadget. It was about heat, dryness, a little fat, and a single layer. The very same handful of truths she lived by at her stove her whole life. Learn them, and everything you pull out of that basket will come out golden and shatteringly crisp instead of pale and soft. If you want them all in one place, with the recipes to match, they're gathered in Nonna's Handbook, linked in the description below. And the pan Nonna trusted long before any air fryer ever existed, her cast iron skillet, and how to cook anything in it without a single thing sticking, is in the video on your screen right now. Go and watch that one next. Subscribe, and let's keep bringing back the wisdom the world was starting to forget.